Have you ever felt like your inner world is just running in high definition,
Yeah.
while everyone else seems to be getting the standard version of life?
Yeah, like you're the one who's catching every tiny detail, every micro expression, every little shift in someone's tone of voice.
Exactly. And you see the potential ripple effect of a decision that was just made, 5 minutes ago. You're just constantly picking up on these quiet, overlooked signals.
And if that sounds familiar, you probably also know how exhausting it can be.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe you've been told you're too sensitive or that you overthink everything.
Right. But what if that feeling that you're somehow qualitatively different, that you have this internal engine that just never shuts off, what if that's actually the key to your greatest power?
That's the heart of our deep dive today. We're going to take these traits that are so often seen as vulnerabilities. The depth, the analysis, that constant curiosity.
And reframe them.
Yeah.
See them as what they are: authentic, high-value psychological strengths. We want to show you why thinking differently and feeling more deeply aren't flaws.
No, not at all. They're the very things that fuel creativity, leadership, and, believe it or not, remarkable resilience.
So let's start with what you called the subtle art of seeing. High-fidelity perception.
High fidelity perception.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about a really simple, everyday conversation.
Okay.
Someone you know, a friend or colleague, says, "I'm fine," and they've got a smile on their face. For most people, that's the end of it. They hear the words, and they move on.
But not for you. You're immediately registering the slight tightening around their eyes, or the fractional pause they took right before they said the word fine.
Or the way their hands are clenched just out of sight. While the average brain is just processing the verbal data, yours is cross-referencing this entire nonverbal data set at the same time.
It's like you're not just hearing the story. You're editing the director's cut in real time.
That's a perfect way to put it. And for so long, we've been told that picking up on those cues is, well, it's being too sensitive.
Or that you're just creating drama where there isn't any.
Exactly. But the psychological reframing here is so important. This is not sensitivity in a negative sense. It's emotional acuity.
Okay, emotional acuity.
It's a highly tuned part of emotional intelligence. It's what allows you to sense the true emotional atmosphere of a room before anyone else has even consciously registered it. You're reading the intention, not just the statement.
What does that actually mean in the real world? Why is that so important beyond, just understanding your friends a bit better?
Well, because the research is incredibly clear on this. Emotional intelligence is one of the single highest predictors of success, especially in leadership.
Really?
Absolutely. If you can accurately predict and then respond to the unspoken needs, the stresses of your team or your family, you build this incredible foundation of trust.
You become the person people rely on.
Right. Not because you have all the answers, but because you reliably understand the question that hasn't even been asked yet. It's a massive social and professional advantage.
This is where it gets really interesting for me, though. Moving from reading the room to the actual architecture of your own mind, the mind that zooms out.
Yes. So when a crisis hits or a complex problem lands on the table, what do most people do?
They focus on the fire. They zoom in on the immediate obstacle.
They zoom in, but your mind, it's busy doing something else. It's connecting to completely random files from its database files that seem totally irrelevant and seeing a new pattern.
Right. It's like it's realizing that a marketing strategy from a completely different industry could actually solve your company's supply chain issue.
Precisely. Or you see how a tiny little process change you made last week is going to have this huge ripple effect 3 months down the line. You can almost see the future outcome.
So what people call overanalyzing is actually something else entirely.
It is. Scientifically, it's known as divergent thinking. It's the polar opposite of just settling for the first good enough answer.
It's the ability to see multiple paths.
Many different potential pathways. It's refusing to be funneled into one single established solution. If the traditional problem solver is looking for the right key on the key ring.
The divergent thinker realizes you don't even need a key. You can just climb through the window.
Exactly. That's the engine of real innovation. It's the ability to link unrelated ideas, and that's what drives breakthroughs in every single field, from science to art. You're basically built to spot patterns that other people don't even register as data points.
Okay, so we've covered reading the room and this capacity for creative connections. Let's talk about what happens after the room is empty, the mental replay.
Yes. The weight of the replay.
It's that tendency to just dissect every social interaction, every email, every phrase. Did I sound awkward? What do they mean by that pause?
And that's often called rumination. We have to acknowledge it feels heavy, it feels like a vulnerability, and sometimes it can be. Well, this is where the nuance is really critical. When rumination becomes maladaptive, meaning you're just spinning in emotional distress without any kind of resolution, it's strongly linked to anxiety and depression.
So if it's so draining, where's the line? How do we know if we're doing helpful analysis or just spiraling?
The key is the objective. Adaptive reflection, the kind we're talking about as a strength, is driven by a desire to learn, to improve your impact. Maladaptive rumination is driven by self-criticism and shame.
Okay, so if the replay leads you to think, next time I should probably pause before I respond, that's growth.
That's growth. That self-reflection shows this deep commitment to being thoughtful, to being considerate of the people around you.
So your overthinking isn't just evidence of worry. It's actually evidence of conscientiousness.
It absolutely is. And studies strongly link this kind of self-analysis to higher empathy and social awareness, simply because you care so deeply about the ripple effect of your own presence.
Which naturally creates some friction, I'd imagine, when it comes to just fitting in.
It does. When you think and feel on this level, superficiality can be almost physically painful. And that leads to this struggle for true belonging.
I think everyone knows the feeling, that exhaustion of fitting in. It's like you're putting on a costume every time you go to a party. You're laughing at jokes you don't find funny, nodding along with opinions you don't agree with, just to avoid that spotlight of being different. It is so depleting.
And that depletion is a critical signal. It's so important to distinguish between fitting in and belonging.
What's the difference?
Fitting in is conditional. It means being tolerated for the version of yourself you pretend to be.
But belonging, that's different.
It's completely different. Belonging is acceptance rooted in authenticity. It means being valued for who you truly are, including the depth, the analysis, all of it.
It requires vulnerability.
It does, but it offers true resilience. So if you're someone who constantly struggles to fit in, please don't see that as a personal flaw. It's a sign that your system is rejecting an inauthentic performance.
You're holding out for something real.
You're instinctively holding out for genuine connection, which is the only kind that actually builds long-term psychological well-being. The discomfort is just a signal.
And that search for the authentic, for the real, it brings us to this final, huge psychological strength. We call the existential orientation.
Yes. The push for something meaningful beyond just the mundane day-to-day stuff.
This is that feeling of emptiness that can creep in when life just feels like a checklist, or when your job is just a paycheck.
Right. And the question that starts whispering in your ear isn't, how do I get through this day? It's, what's the point of getting through this day?
So why does that routine feel so dull? It's not a lack of discipline, is it?
Not at all. It's an overwhelming, innate drive for purpose. We can look at self-determination theory here, which explains what really fuels human motivation.
Okay.
It suggests that people truly thrive when they experience three key things: purpose, autonomy, and growth.
And a transactional job doesn't offer that.
Exactly. When you just perform task X for reward Y, you're missing purpose and autonomy. You feel flat. But that restless feeling you have, that push for work and relationships and the hobbies that genuinely matter, that's your internal system trying to fulfill those core needs.
So that restlessness, it's really future motivation, just disguised as present dissatisfaction.
That's a great way to think about it. And this search, it doesn't just happen at work. It sneaks into the quietest moments of life.
Right. You're walking the dog or washing dishes, and suddenly you're drifting into these huge questions.
Why am I here? What really matters if everything is temporary? Yeah. To many, that might look like unnecessary navel-gazing.
But for you, it's a constant, natural pull towards depth.
And that pull is your existential orientation. And this right here is where we find profound resilience. We can look at the work of psychiatrist Viktor Frankl.
He survived the Holocaust.
He did. And he observed that the people who found some kind of meaning, whether it was in a future goal, a purpose, or even just the memory of a loved one, they were often the ones who showed the greatest strength, the greatest ability to endure unimaginable suffering.
Because the search for meaning gives you perspective.
It gives you perspective. When you're grappling with the big questions, the small daily irritations, they just shrink. And modern research confirms it. consistently reflecting on your life's purpose is strongly tied to greater long-term well-being.
It's like an internal compass.
It's an internal compass that gives you direction and the ability to handle life's inevitable challenges because you know you're pursuing something larger than the immediate obstacle.
So if you've spent your life feeling a little bit disconnected or too deep or just wondering why everyone else seems so comfortable on the surface,
Then what we've unpacked today should really shift that perspective. Your depth, your empathy, your relentless curiosity, they're not your vulnerabilities.
they're your core psychological strengths.
They are. And you have to stop trying to soften them or hide them just because you're afraid of being labeled difficult or too much. That depth is necessary.
So let's leave you with a final thought to mull over. If noticing those missed details or seeing those hidden connections, if that's your authentic superpower, what would happen if you stopped trying to dampen it and actually started to leverage it?
What if you're meant to see the whole forest while others are focused on just two trees? How could you structure your week, your career, your relationships to operate at that level of high-fidelity awareness?
Instead of constantly trying to blur the edges just to fit in. The real power in thinking differently isn't about finding a way to blend in. It's about standing out in a way that truly matters.